Well, good day, all. Welcome to Alchemy Within from Out Amongst the Stars. And today we're going to talk about the new moon we have that is almost present. I'm sure it will have at least be almost here or here when you see the video. But we have time to set our new moon intentions as the new moon starts to come from the darkness and then into the light. So it occurs on November 30th, 2024 at 11:21 Mountain Standard Time in Sagittarius. So as we see here on the chart, the moon and the sun come together, and then we have the dark in the sky with that. And it's happening at 9 degrees and 33 minutes. So um, we will have a really probably a few days to really set those intentions, and it's important to do so under this. This is a nice a nice new moon. However, we do have some other things that are in place. So first of all, I'll just let you know that if you want to get in touch with me to do anything with your chart, if it's a one-on-one Zoom private session, or you can take advantage for this 8 year. I have the minimum $8 donation to ask me a question in written form, and I'll give you a written answer for your chart. So I would just need your birth time and such, and you can find the link below to connect with me via email or through any of the socials, and or just filling out the form that will come to the email. So yeah, as we jump into our new moon in Sagittarius, if we want to talk about what Sagittarius first of all is about, it is it's that it's the sign of the big picture. It's the sign of our beliefs, our faith. It's the philosopher. It loves freedom and education, and is about travel and growth and the pursuit of truth and wisdom and understanding. The Sagittarius is the seeker, and it loves to experience through adventure and learn and teach and grow. It has the symbol of the archer. So where is it that we are pointing to with our action? It's in the fire element. So that's action oriented, and as well, Sagittarius is a mutable sign, so it has that flexibility about it. So when we get looking at the big picture view of a really wonderful Sagittarius new moon, typically we can set those intentions for those the what we want in our big broader horizon, and what we envision for our future. And of course, anything we know, like in reality, comes about with first setting that intention and creating the vision in our mind and really feeling into that. And so this, during this particular time, with it being in a new moon, we'll have a little bit of time to reflect and rejuvenate our energy and find that quiet space. As Sag, when it's out and about, it likes to be loud and bold and fired up. Sometimes it can get very blunt, especially when it speaks its words of truth. But at the same time, it loves to have fun, and Sagittarius is the party sign, and we just have to watch for that. The shadow sides, of course, can be overindulgent, and then overly ambitious and passionate about what words it wants to say, because it sometimes just things come out of their mouth and put it that way, and it can be a lot of energy in the room. So as we go on our travel adventure in our mind during under the new moon, and think about what it is that excites us, and where the next adventure is going to take us, and that has the higher ideals and enthusiasm, and wherever you're ready to go beyond the the opposite of that is Gemini, and that is the logical, intellectual mind. So where we look at the polarity of the data and all the analytical details and bits of data people get, the Sagittarius is the one who really can be the teacher who really brings in some higher perspective. And where you want to look to see is if you have 9 degrees in your chart in Sagittarius, or any of the of course fire signs, it will be a trine. And as you can see, we have in the collective a bit of a nice fire trine with Mars and the North Node. So yeah, you'll want to look for the trines for that. And anybody that's feeling any tension in this will be, within that 3 degrees before or after of a square, and the opposition as well. So we are going to look at the opposition because, of course, we have the moon and sun together in Sag. Sag is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is over in its opposing detrimental place that it doesn't love to be in, because it's the furthest point away for where it loves to be in Gemini. And then across the way, we have Mercury in Sagittarius, and Mercury is the ruler of Gemini at its opposite space. So we also, at the same time of this new moon, have this opposition occurring. And it is, considered to be mutual reception, except there's these other factors involved, that both Mercury and Jupiter are in retrograde. So meaning they appear to be going backwards. So things are just not as clear. In addition to that, with our 9-degree new moon here, we have this square happening at 12 degrees to Saturn. And that is where we're going to, find a little bit of restriction. That's probably going to happen. So we'll go back to, first of all, a Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is known as the Great Benefic. It grows, it expands, it magnifies everything that it touches. And, Jupiter often brings us, good fortune if we have a nice aspect with it, a sense of hope and luck and faith, and with where our wishes can come true. Because it happens with ease, typically, especially even sometimes when it's not, in a nice, easy sextile or trine or a nice flowing aspect. It enlarges everything that it touches. However, that also means it can enlarge things that aren't going so well either. So the good, the bad, the ugly sort of thing. And the planet that it touches, can be expanded on. But sometimes if we're having some hardship, we don't want that expanded on. But in many cases, it can bring rewards and wealth and extravagance and opportunities we never expected, of abundance and luck and some great expectations. And Jupiter's energy can be really, sometimes overly optimistic, but optimistic. And, with that, we have to know that, especially with this Saturn square, that we have to be aware that sometimes there are some disappointments. But typically on the other side of disappointments, there was a reason for that setback, that hold back, especially with Saturn, that limited obstacle and restriction and boundary often is for a reason that we aren't aware of at the time. But the long-term gain is usually, something that is often even better if we put in the effort. So with this, Jupiter and Sagittarius, it's connected to philosophy and personal growth and higher education, adventure and foreign lands and foreign culture and long distance travel and morals, ethics, law, spirituality, our belief systems. So that is the kind of uh, subject matter that we're dealing with when it comes to the new moon in Sagittarius. And so this offers, some hope that we have some real optimistic things coming, expansion coming, and is just allowing us to take some time for exploration. And when you're setting your intentions, set them with, set the bold, big, higher picture and think beyond the boundaries that we are currently, being restricted by with the Saturn. And, wherever it is that you want to maybe embrace some higher learning, or you want to travel, or where you want to adventure, or you're just seeking to have some sort of higher truth and wisdom and knowledge that you can share with others. And looking at the, the big broader picture of where it is you want your life to go. So now personally, we could encounter, some different setbacks, because we do have, and I mean, I guess obviously in the collective as well, but we do have this Saturn over here in Pisces. It's a 12 degrees squaring that new moon. It's 9 degrees, that's right within orb. And the squares are a challenging aspect, and Saturn is about reality. It's about discipline and responsibility, and it also is the planet that brings in borders, boundaries, the limitations that we're not expecting. And it just kind of often can give us that reality check. It often can bring in feelings of melancholy or fears. And, so that's limiting that expansive quality of our Sagittarius. And so with that, are we being overly idealistic? Because Saturn is going to want to ground that. We want to ground our vision into, a reality that we want to manifest for ourselves, with some planning and responsibility, and confronting those fears and our doubts. And actually, we may have some fairly lofty aspirations, but we need to structurally look after the planning of that. And, we just, of course, have, in addition, to the big collective energies, we do have the Pluto going into Aquarius here. So Pluto is just entered Aquarius. It's just at 0 degrees. And so that's really shifting our, big broader perspective as well for everyone, more towards futuristic, outside the box, humanitarianism, technology, advancements, otherworldly, things that are not the norm, just being original, but also working together as a group to do, things more collectively. And so, Saturn, going back to having that Saturn square, can just offer that tension between, what our dreams are and what our reality is. And knowing that we have those constraints among us, we want to look for that real methodical approach with Saturn in order to manifest what it is that we really want, with, that's bringing in all that enthusiasm about learning and different, cultural or philosophical ideas and ideals, and all the, big picture ambitions and dreams and goals that we have. So, the Pluto in Aquarius, this part of it too, it's pushing us towards, new forward thinking and progressive thinking, and things that are a little more revolutionary, and it wants us to be innovative. So, we might need to relook at our plans. Now, challenges, of course, can come up where we just are really feeling some actual limitations of these big lofty goals that we have, and our creative inspirations are needing some sort of innovative solution, or we need to review or recalibrate where it is that we're launching some new endeavors. And that's going to really also be reflected with having these this retrograde mutual reception going on between Jupiter and Mercury in their opposite signs. So now, and also another thing, because that has a lot to do with communication, and the Gemini and the Mercury, is that there could be some opposing views and some debates around the theme in the Sagittarius of freedoms and truths and education. And we may have to watch how much we're going to dig our heels in as far as our own beliefs, especially around spirituality and justice and all of the different viewpoints and ethics, and of course politics, and all the different situations that are going on that are creating some polarities in our world right now. So looking at finding ways to work around that, and working around communication with that, maybe coming to some sort of agree to disagree rather than polarity, because we all know that there has been a lot of divisiveness, and people really, in the big picture, they all want the same thing. Everybody just wants to feel safe and loved and valued and appreciated, and how we get there is something we all need to work towards. It doesn't need to be this way is the only way. It has to we have to allow all the different viewpoints to be heard and seen, and maybe there can be discussion with that, considering that we have this opposition happening with the truth and the wisdom and the visionary and the higher mind of that Sag in that polarity with the mental air sign, that wants specifics and details and analytical facts and numbers and data. And, that's not the Sag forte. So with this retrograde happening, it really, wants us to review and refine and look at, ideas and learning methods with that Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. And, our Jupiter has so much to do with our ideologies and philosophies and, the belief systems that are our guiding principles and spiritual values and the moral code that we operate by, the big picture and our outlook for higher perspective. But it's best to put on the observer and look at the overall plan and the vision that we have, and allow some observation to happen, because maybe there is a change in paradigm that's ready to happen. I mean, everyone's got different things happening in their chart around this area, but just stay curious rather than scattered and frustrated and wanting all the facts and details right now, and making us sort of look at the diversity of different perspectives and try to find some coherence together, and focus on what it is that we all want to feel. And of course, everyone has their different things that they want in their immediate life that make them feel good, and how we're going to get there is yet to be determined. And I don't think that this is the energy in this next month is not the energy we're going to actually get all those details, because with Mercury here, or Mercury in the Sag sign, I should say, and of course Jupiter opposing in Mercury's sign of Gemini, we just have to re-examine some certain, this little Mercury here wants to re-examine its beliefs. It might want to revisit the knowledge it's been getting and where it's been getting it from, and find some, clarity in how it communicates. So, we're familiar with Mercury retrogrades. We get them every few months, or like usually about 3 times a year, depending on where it falls. Sometimes it can push into 4. So, we had one back in April, and that that went for the 3 weeks in April in Aries and looking at our individuality. And then we had another that went from Virgo into Leo. And of course, the Virgo's the details too, and the Leo's the heart. And now here we are just the entire time in this house of Sagittarius, where we're going to have this Mercury retrograde. And we can actually, with this really cool software, we can look at the transits, and we can actually go, if we look here, so we have Mercury down here in Sag, and if we go another week and we see the retrograde, we can see the retrograde here. So if we go another week into the 30th, and then we can go another week, and so there's the 7th, and there we are at 6 degrees on the 14th, and that's just before it's like stationing there. That's just before it stations and then starts to go forward again. So then we start to go back, and we'll around the 28th of December, we're in forward motion, of course, getting back close to that 20-degree mark. Of course, Mercury went retrograde already previously. So yeah, and then we're getting on here past that shadow, and the shadow is at 23 degrees. So that's where it had started on the 26th of November. So it was up at 23 degrees. And so by this time here in the beginning of January, we are getting past the shadow period, because it had started going retrograde at 23 degrees, went all the way back to 6, and then we move ahead. So in this Mercury retrograde, it's just all this reviewing and reevaluating what's going on in our mind. And so we're using this time during this month of December to review and reevaluate all the rewords, right? Reorient ourselves in what it is we believe, rewrite something, rearrange, reflect, reconsider how we're doing things, and re-envision and reconceptualize with that big, Sagittarius view of, the details that need to be done for the big picture. And I just feel like we have to wait until we get into forward motion in order for us to really get the actual data that we need in order to know what it is that we need to do to go forward. It just might not all be very clear, and that's okay. So Saturn is also then asking us not to push forward, not to try to ram things through. It's just not the time to do that. And so even though you might feel kind of, really fired up right now, because we have all this fire in the sky, it's a matter of, just allowing things to unfold and allowing yourself to let things evolve so that you can have that freedom and adventure and look to, the higher faith and optimism and let things resolve as the month goes on. So yeah, with the mutual reception, the Jupiter and which is Sag's ruler, and then Mercury, which is Gemini's ruler, we want to allow things to both go forward before we really make any hardcore plans. And so that requires us to really just focus on putting on the observer, taking in the details, right? Allowing that tension to evolve and look at how we can refine things. So any way you can rethink things and not not overthink them and with their, any kind of, or get into any kind of um, sort of dig your heels in dogmatic ways of thinking, um, is the best approach for this, because we want to try not to allow the exchange of information of what we believe or what we feel are all the things that we want to happen right now. Um, we want to make sure we have all the facts before we do so. So with that T square happening, because if we look at the opposition, and it's got a real close T square to Saturn. Saturn's the malefic. It's the planet of this, the stern grandfather, mother, grandmother, uh, wise old teacher that wants to say you need to have responsibility and discipline, and you need to bring yourself into the 3D world and do this in a very disciplined way, grounding us in what it is that we need to do in a step-by-step way. It can sometimes feel very heavy and very weighty, and because it has all these boundaries and borders and restrictions and obstacles and all kinds of things that can bring in disappointments and take so much effort to overcome. Just allow the feelings to come and go and process them, and know that it's a passing energy, just like any energy is. So no, that's not where that energy is going to stay, but it is on the other side of this that the true reality is going to manifest. So whatever's hindering the progress, just know that any kind of hardship you're facing or hardworking actions that you're taking that with, running into brick walls, it feels like, or any commitment or discipline that you're putting in, and you're just not feeling like you're getting what you want out of it, it might be, a time to reevaluate things just for this next few weeks, and look forward to some delayed gratification with whatever efforts you're, looking at doing. And it's not like it's not stopping everything dead in its tracks. It's just moving at a slower pace, allowing things to unfold, being the observer, allowing things to, be brought to light that you aren't aware of, and anything that you want to navigate into this new moon, you might want to just look at where you can set realistic goals and focus on your inner growth and what it is that you want to refine in the way that you're communicating and your beliefs. And there's a couple of other factors. If you are following other astrologers, you may have heard this. And I don't work with any of the fixed stars or anything, but it's conjunct Urania, and then there's talk of the galactic center, which I'm not familiar with, but yeah, there's different factors that are in play, and of course, it's always how it affects your personal chart too. So we're looking for that personal freedom and growth, and we want to seek truth. And so let's look at how we can realign everything with, our higher purpose, and allow some more time for the visionary planning and the long-term, projects, and knowing that there is something, whether it has to do with higher education or your philosophies or travel or foreign lands, or something to do with, where you want to teach or where you want to grow or how you want to expand out in the world. There is a little bit more that has to unfold here. And and start to keep track. Like if you have a journal, because of course, we look at the moon cycles in the 2-week periods, because then we'll end up in a full moon in Gemini and in a couple of weeks. But then, we 6 months down the road, we look at where the moon cycle is, but there's also the big larger picture with having a new moon reset, or the full moon that comes in a year and a half from now. So if we track all these different moon cycles, we can kind of get a picture of, you know, what the theme is around it. And of course, you always want to look at the house it's in. So this particular chart is showing in the fourth house. It's just the way the chart landed when it was put in generally. But we have opportunities here to work on this area that is in our own chart. And you know, for me, it's no different. It's with my moon and my midheaven and my house of groups and allies and hopes, wishes, dreams. And, you know, as far as me doing all new work and then having to, you know, reevaluate how I do this. So, because I want to do this work full time and have the opportunity to right now in the season that we're in as the other seasonal work is wrapped up. So I'm here for support for anyone. Like I said, I have my link below for anybody to connect with me to do any personal one-on-one. And I work through the emotional empowerment and provide support, because some of these transits are really hard, and then you're so confused and trying to figure out how it is that it's affecting your own chart, and you don't really actually you know, maybe know astrology really well, and it just feels like overwhelming. So my work in the world has to do with providing that emotional support with the background that I have and the certifications I have. And the astrology, of course, is a never ending learning. And right now I'm actually in the archetypal class with my good friend and family friend, Ren Butler. And you guys actually have this on my link too. Always a great book to have, because it shows us our archetypes of all the different planets and together in combination. And it's amazing how they manifest in our studies. We learn about different musicians and different characters and how, and you know, there's some different aspects that really come through in their work that they do creatively that, you know, we get to enjoy. So yeah, I would love to catch up with you all, and we hope to work together and try to, you know, hopefully I can provide some general information for you all through these videos, and when I connect with Gail and others, so that we can all learn a little bit while we're also looking at the mundane transits. You know, we all are affected by things differently. Like I said, our natal charts don't always reflect what is in the ethers. But if you are looking and listening to any horoscopes, any of your 12 signs, be sure to really pay attention to your rising sign, because that's always the perspective that the general horoscopes are done by. So then they will talk about, say, if it's a Virgo rising, would be talking about the new moon in your fourth house of home and family. So that is always the perspective that some need to keep in mind when they're listening to horoscopes, to, if you know your rising sign. If you don't and you are curious about that, you can, again, just take a minimum donation for any kind of just general questions, especially about the big three when you're just trying to figure things out. And for the year of the 8th year of 2024 here, it is still $8 for a written answer. Okay, thank you all for being here, and until we meet again to talk more about our astrology, I hope you have a wonderful new moon, and get your book out and set your intentions of how you want to manifest going forward into a lot of change coming in our 2025 year. So we look forward to sharing all that and working through that with you. Okay, bye for all. Bye for now all.